Call the Midwife star Jenny Agutter has announced a rather controversial stance on how childbirth has moved on since the 60s with the rise in elective caesareans. She says now, of course, people say that they'll have their baby taken out on such and such a date by C-section, which is sad in a way. She adds that it depends on the circumstances, but insists that childbirth is something to be experienced fully if one can. Well, Paris...
I've experienced it plenty.
You have?
I'm not sure how I think of this. I think it's, obviously, it's everybody's choice, but I don't really know the person who would walk forward and elect to have a major operation unless it was for medical reasons. I think if you obviously had issues or you've had past pregnancies where you've had complications in the birth, then I understand completely why people elect to have a C-section. But for me personally, my children, I've had natural births. And with my first one, I remember being in the delivery room and there was complications. The child's heartbeat was going and they said, you've got like 5 minutes for things to change, otherwise we're going to do an emergency C-section. And it was like my world come crashing. I was so frightened. I said, no, please, please, I don't want that. I don't want to go down that route. It's not for me. And I hadn't really given it a thought before. It's just something that instantly came to me. I didn't want to do it. But luckily, everything changed and the birth went on and everything went well. And since then, I've had each one of my children and they've all been born healthy and well, thank God. And I just don't think it's something I would personally elect to have when
Paris,
it's just a natural process.
Do you think you reacted that way because you were nervous about surgery or because you felt you would be missing out by not having a natural childbirth?
No, I didn't think I was missing out on anything at all. I think as long as you are the healthy mother, healthy baby, it makes no difference how your baby gets there, and just be very thankful that they are. That wasn't the problem. I think it was the slight fear of the operation, the complications of the recovery time. And I've had slight operations before I had children, and I thought, I don't want to go down that road. Like the small operations that I had, I didn't want anything bigger. Yeah. So it was more the fear of the operation itself.
I mean, I've never had a natural childbirth because my first daughter was an emergency caesarean, and then they said because of my anatomy, won't give you too much information, that the second one should be elective. I don't feel that I've missed out, but I don't know, maybe I have.
No, I never had that. I never felt that need to have a natural birth. It just wasn't something that I particularly was desperate to have. So I kind of went in very openly to my obstetrician at the time and was just like, can you give me the pros and cons on both? And, you know, then I'll make a decision from there. But I remember my GP, when I found out I was pregnant, said to me, just avoid an emergency C-section. That's all she said to me. And then that kind of stuck in my brain. And for me, being an anxious person, waiting to go into birth and having that uncertainty of how that birth would go just didn't sit right with me. So as someone who wasn't desperate to have that birth-giving moment, I was just like, that's what made sense for me. But I can't handle this judgment of that, of when you tell people and they go, oh, and they kind of give you that face. And I think it comes from, personally, the whole too posh to push thing. You know, when that came out, I think it really made it like it was the easy option. And it's not, like Paris says, it's a huge surgery. It's not something to be sniffed at. So I think, yeah, I think it's a hard one. I think as long as you have a baby at the end of it, who cares?
Well, June, you've had both then.
Yeah, I had my first daughter naturally, and that was tough, actually, because it all went a bit pear-shaped and it could easily have become I'd just like to point out my daughter wasn't pear-shaped. She'll be going, Mum, have you said on television I'm pear-shaped? It went kind of smoothly and then it suddenly didn't, and there was a suggestion that I might have to have an emergency. But anyway, it was fine in the end. But my recovery time was really tough, actually, from my natural birth. So when I had my second daughter, I had an elective caesarean, and I actually found the recovery far quicker. And I know it's not, it's pretty much every single woman and every single birth is different. And I just think it's about individual choice. Well, you just have your baby however you want to have your baby.
Yeah, and this sense that natural is the gold standard and that anything different from that is less good. I think it's difficult for people who've had that other experience for whatever reason. Though I think you and I, Frankie, have both shared the desire to have a water birth and then we didn't.
Yeah.
Paris, ever thought of the water birth?
Yeah, I thought of that, but I was never having the option. But I just found out today that when you get a water birth, it's lukewarm, tepid water. And I thought, nah, not for me. Changed my mind. Even though I'm not allowed it, I wouldn't want it.
Listen, just before we go, let me say the current advice from the Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynaecologists is that doctors will not recommend a caesarean section unless it is necessary for medical reasons. But I suppose those medical reasons can be more than physical. You know, when you describe your situation, it was clearly the right thing for you.